Hello everyone, this is Agria Videos and the topic for today's video is sericulture technology. In this we are going to talk bit by bit about each and every step which is involved in the process of this technology. So let's begin. First of all, to learn sericulture technology, we need to know what is silk. Silk is basically a natural fiber which is produced by the larva with the well-known larva of silk moth which is called as Bombyx mori. This is the name of the moth. Sericulture comprises the various events, starting from the food plant cultivation, which is required to feed the silkworms, further moving to spinning the silk cocoon, the reeling process, then unwinding the silk filament for the naturally value added benefits such as processing and weaving. All these technology held together will form sericulture technology as one. India being a very important, distinct place where all the different commercial varieties of silk is produced. So this is kind of a gem which we need to know. So basically, before going ahead, we need to know the process and the people involved. Egg convert itself into larva, further forming a cocoon, after which it converts into an adult moth. The process, to talk in detail, involves a four-step event where the egg gets converted into larva approximately close to after 10 days, feeding on the leaves like mulberry, which is a food. After 4 to 6 weeks, conversion happens in the form of silk threads, which further after 3 to 8 days converts into cocoon. Cocoon, which after close to 16 days converts itself into a moth. So, this is a process cycle which keeps on happening and repeating itself in the process of producing the silk, which we know as of now. So, the process of producing the silk requires few events wherein the selection of this cocoon happens, which is boiled in the water, unwinding happens, twisting happens, and then finally is the process of weaving, which is done. So, to know about this marvelous process, we need to understand how much single continuous filaments can be produced from just a single cocoon. So just a single cocoon can convert itself into a thread length of close to 1000, and silkworm which is required to make 1 pound of raw silk is close to 3000 silkworms. So this is a good number. Talking about its life cycle, as we were talking about the four-step process, so in the egg stage the female moth lays close to 300 to 500 tiny eggs which are having the potential of silk production. Then the hungry caterpillars, they consume the leaves, mulberry leaves, for close to 4 to 6 weeks where they grow rapidly. Then the cocoon creation happens where the mature larva will spin a protective cocoon over figure eight motion. So the kind of motion which the cocoon follows is a figure eight motion. And there are head shakes happening in the silk cradle. To make a silk cradle, there are head shakes happening wherein each silkworm will rotate its body approximately close to 24,000 times in the precise figure eight pattern to create a protective cocoon, which we know. So, this is just a bit of it. Now we need to know about the sericulture map of India because the places are also very crucially important. There are majorly four types of silk which is available in India: Mulberry, Tasar, Eri, and Muga. Mulberry regions are shown in the green. Tasar regions are shown in the brown. Aries regions are shown in the purple, and Muga is proximally associated with Assam, but close to some regions of Nagaland, Mizoram, West Bengal, Manipur are also included in this. So bits and pieces of yellow color are showing the Muga silk. This is the entire description of the different places where these kinds of silk are available and are being functional. So, talking once again for the silkworm production or silk production to be precise, what are the people involved and what are the processes involved? So, it involves the process of silk rearers, farmers, reelers, twisters, and weavers. These all are the people who are involved in the process. After the feeding happens, the feeding converts the process into cocoon. Cocoon then undergoes the process, thereby converting the raw silk. Reeling and spinning happens. Twisting and degumming and further dyeing of the raw silk is in the process. converting it into weaving of the natural silk fiber. This is in the entire process. Now let's talk about the different four varieties of or the kinds of silk which are available. First is the mulberry silk. So this is very important and contributes to close 90% of the world production. It is called mulberry silk because it is feeding on the mulberry plant. Very simple thing to understand. The silkworm involved is Bombyx mori, which is feeding on mulberry plant, as I told you. This can be domesticated and reared indoors completely. In India, the mulberry silk is being produced in the parts of Maharashtra, Andhra, Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Jammu and Kashmir, which is accounting to that 90 or 92%, which is available raw silk production in India. Talking about the next important silk, which is called Tasar or Tassa silk. So this is copperish color core is silk, which is used for making the furnishing and the interiors. It is less lustrous in mulberry, but it is having its own appeal and feel. Tussar is generated by the silkworm Antheraceae mylitta, which mainly thrives on the leaves of Assam and Arjun tree. These are the trees whose leaves are being given and fed to this silkworm. Rearing are conducted in nature on trees in open. In India, this is mainly produced in parts of Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, Orissa, besides Maharashtra, West Bengal, and Andhra Pradesh. And this is mainly considered useful for the tribal communities in India. So it is mainly being used by them. There is also one more silk which is called oak tussar. The variety is same, Antheraceae is there, royally, but it is feeding on oak and it is prominent in parts of Assam, Meghalaya, Jammu, and all these areas. Next is the Iri silk, which belongs to the species Samia ricini and Philosamia ricini. Philosamia, which is also called as castor silkworm. This is rearing on the castor oil plant leaves to produce this white or brick red silk, which is called as the Iri. This is also called as Endi or Irandi, which is a multi-voltine silk which is spun from open-ended cocoons, unlike the other varieties of silk. It is indigenously used to make chadars or the wraps which are worn by the tribals. It is prominent in the northeast region and in the parts of Bihar, West Bengal, Odisha. Iri is also called as Ahimsa silk because it is the production process does not harm the silkworm, unlike in the conventional silk making process. In normal silk, the initial first picture which I showed, where a boiling pan was there and we were putting cocoons into it. So, in the normal silk process, whether it is mulberry, tussar, or muga, the cocoon is boiled with the silkworm inside. So that long unbroken silk filaments can be read. In this process, the silkworm that gets killed. But on the other hand, iri silk in the case, moth generally naturally emerges from the cocoon. Only after that, the empty cocoons are collected and they are spun into yarn. And this is how the final process looks like. There was a term which I used initially, which is multi-voltine silk. What does this mean? It means multi-voltine silk means from multi-voltine silkworm, which is species that produces two or more broods or generations per year. Now, the final variety, which is called as the Muga silk, which is produced from the Muga silk forms, Antheraceae assamensis, which is belonging to the same genus as Tussar, Antheraceae, but produce an unusual golden yellow thread, which is very attractive and strong. It is only found in the places of Assam, and it is feeding on Persea bombacina and, let's say, Monopetala leaves and those of other species. They feed on aromatic leaves of som and soalu plants and they are rearing similar to the process which is happening with the tussar. Muga silk is high in value and it is considered important in making sarees, miklas and chatars. So coming on to the harvesting process altogether, first is the preparation, where clean mountages are done throughout, thoroughly removing the dust, debris, ensuring that the cocoons they remain pristine for the optimal silk and the good quality to be maintained. Second process is systematic collection, wherein the removal of cocoons systematically happens from top to bottom, immediately sorting the quality and the condition. Third is the processing, where boiling happens to humanly kill the pupa and soften the sericin gum, allowing the delicate silk and the delicate silk threads to be carefully reed. Now, when to harvest cocoon? What is the best time? Perfect window. Harvest begins 8 to 10 days after spinning is completed before the moth emerges and breaks the precious continuous thread. Now, early harvest risk, premature collection yields weak, underdeveloped silk that lacks the strength and needed quality for the textiles. Hence, harvest losses also needs to be maintained. Delayed timings allowing the moth to emerge, breaking the filament and ruining the thread essential for the silk production. This has to be regulated. Now, throwing you with the last bit of this series with two important questions. One is silk is produced by cocoon, adult moth, larva, or larva and adult moth. Answer is larva. This was asked in one of the important exams in agriculture. Second, silk contains a protein which is called as casein, fibroin, sericin, or both sericin and fibroin. Answer is D, both fibroin and sericin. If you like the content, please do subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends. If you have any queries, you can mention it in the box. Also, you can find the PDF related to this on my Telegram channel. Thank you so much for watching.